The sound of glass breaking jolted Dr. Tamin Park from his deep concentration. He looked up from his microscope, confused by the noise. It was late, past midnight, and he thought he was alone in the research facility. The botanical lab was his second home, especially since his breakthrough with compound X7, a strange plant enzyme that could accelerate growth in dying vegetation. "Hello," he called out, moving toward the door. "Security." No answer came. Instead, the lights flickered and went out completely. Only the faint glow of his computer screen provided any illumination. Tai Min reached for his phone, but found his pocket empty. That was strange. He always kept it with him. A soft humming sound filled the room, growing louder by the second. It wasn't mechanical, more like a collective whisper that made the hair on his arms stand up. The air began to shimmer near the far wall, swirling with an unnatural light that was neither blue nor green but somehow both. Ta Min backed away, knocking over a tray of test tubes. "Who's there?" From the light stepped a figure, tall, muscular, and unmistakably female. She wore armor that seemed to shift colors like oil on water. Behind her came 4 more women, each carrying what looked like advanced weapons. "Dr. Tamin Park," the first woman said. It wasn't a question. "I am Commander Jia of the Kea Elite Guard." Ta Min could only stare. The women were at least 7 feet tall, with skin that had a subtle golden sheen. Their eyes were larger than human eyes, intense and focused. "Your work with botanical regeneration has been noticed," Commander Jia continued, moving closer. "You will come with us." Finding his voice, Ta Min stammered. "I don't understand. Who are you? How did you get in here?" One of the other women stepped forward, holding a small device that projected images of his research, formulas, and molecular structures he recognized as his own work. "This compound you call X7, she said. "We call it Nectar. Our world dies without it." "My research is still experimental," Ta Min protested, trying to back away but finding himself against a lab table. "It's not ready for application." Commander Jia's expression hardened. "We do not ask, Earthman. The survival of the Kea depends on your knowledge." 2 of the women moved with shocking speed, grabbing Tai Min before he could react. He struggled, but their strength was overwhelming. "You can't just take me. This is kidnapping," he shouted, hoping anyone might hear. "We prefer to call it conscription," Commander Jia said calmly. She pressed a small device against his neck. A cold sensation spread through his body, and his limbs grew heavy. "Your world will not miss you. We have made arrangements." The last thing Tai Min saw before darkness took him was the shimmering portal reopening, a tear in reality that shouldn't exist. When Tai Min woke, he lay on a bed unlike any he had seen before. It seemed to float slightly above the floor, with no visible supports. The room around him was circular, with walls that appeared metallic but felt warm to the touch. A large window revealed a vista that stopped his breath. Twin moons hanging in a purple sky above a landscape of towering crystal formations and strange, twisting trees. "Not Earth," he whispered to himself, the truth sinking in with terrible clarity. A door slid open, and a woman entered. She was smaller than the warriors who had taken him, but still taller than any human woman he had ever met. She wore a simple white uniform with strange symbols along one sleeve. "I am Hannah," she said. "I will be your guardian during your time with the Kea." Tai Min sat up slowly. "Where am I? How far from Earth?" "You are on Kayara, our homeworld. Distance means little. We do not measure space as you do. But if it helps, we are in what your astronomers call the Andromeda Galaxy." The shock of this information made Tai Min dizzy. "That's millions of light years. How did we get here?" "It should be impossible. The fold gates allow instantaneous travel between fixed points," Hannah explained with a slight shrug, as if discussing something as mundane as a bus route. "Now you should eat. Then Commander Jia will explain why you are here." A tray emerged from the wall, holding food that looked almost, but not quite, like fruits and vegetables Ta-Min recognized. "I won't be your prisoner," he said, ignoring the food. "I demand to be returned to Earth." Hannah's expression didn't change. "You are not a prisoner, Dr. Park. You are a savior, though you don't know it yet. Our world is dying. The plant life that sustains our atmosphere is failing. Your Nectar compound is our last hope. So you kidnap me. That's your solution. We made requests through proper channels. Your governments denied us." "What? That's impossible. No one on Earth knows about alien life." Hannah smiled for the first time, though it held little warmth. "Your leaders know more than they tell their people. They have known of us for decades, but they deemed your work too valuable to share, even to save another world." Ta-Min struggled to process this. Could it be true? Had his research been monitored by people aware of alien civilizations? "How long do you intend to keep me here?" he asked finally. "Until our world is healed," Hannah replied. 10 years, perhaps. Less if you cooperate fully." 10 years. The words hit Ta-Min like a physical blow. 10 years away from Earth, from everything he knew. 10 years among these strange warrior women who valued his work but not his freedom. The reality of his situation crashed down upon him as he looked again at the alien landscape outside his window. He was millions of light years from home, with no way back except through his captors. 10 years in a world he didn't understand, among people who had taken him against his will. And yet, the scientist in him couldn't help but wonder about their dying world, about how his research might truly save an entire civilization. Despite his anger and fear, a small part of him was already curious. 6 months had passed since Ta-Min's abduction to Kayara. The initial shock and anger had faded into a reluctant routine. Each morning, Hannah would escort him from his quarters to the laboratory that Kaya had built especially for him. The equipment was strange, more advanced than anything on Earth, but he was adapting to it quickly. Today, Ta-Min stood before a large spherical device that displayed molecular structures in 3 dimensions. With careful hand movements, he manipulated the formula for his Nectar compound, trying to adjust it to the unique biology of Kataran plants. "The synthesis requires precise calibration," he explained to Hannah, who watched from nearby. She had become less of a guard and more of an assistant over the months, learning his processes with surprising speed. "Show me again," she requested, moving closer to observe his hands as they twisted and pulled at the glowing molecular bonds. Ta-Min sighed but complied. "The base compound needs to bond with the plant cells here and here." He pointed to specific junctions in the floating model. "But Karen plants have an extra membrane that Earth plants don't have. I'm trying to modify the nectar to penetrate that barrier without damaging it." Outside the lab's windows, Ta-Min could see the vast forests of Kayara stretching to the horizon. Once, according to his captors, these forests had been vibrant with colors no human eye had ever seen. Now large sections were brown and withered, affected by a blight that was slowly killing the planet's ecosystem. "What happens if the forests die completely?" Ta-Min asked, though he already knew the answer. Hannah's expression darkened. "Without the forests, our atmosphere begins to fail. Already, the outer territories are becoming unlivable. The air too thin, too poor in oxygen. Many Kaya have moved to the central cities where we can still control the environment." Ta-Min nodded, turning back to his work. Despite himself, he felt invested in the problem. It was the greatest scientific challenge he had ever faced, and solving it would save millions of lives. Captive or not, he couldn't ignore that fact. "I think I'm close to a breakthrough," he admitted. "But I need to see the affected areas up close. Pictures and samples aren't enough anymore." Hannah looked surprised. This was the first time he had requested to leave the laboratory complex. "I will speak with Commander Jia. It may be possible." 3 days later, Ta-Min found himself in a Kayan transport vessel, skimming low over the forests. Commander Jia herself had come to oversee the expedition, along with Hannah and 2 other guards. The vessel was silent, moving on some principle Ta Min didn't understand, with large transparent panels that gave a clear view of the landscape below. As they moved further from the city, the devastation became more apparent. Whole sections of forest stood dead, the strange spiral-shaped trees turned to gray skeletons against the purple sky. Land there. Ta Min pointed to a boundary area where healthy trees met the affected zone. I need to take samples from the transition point. The vessel descended, settling gently in a small clearing. When the door opened, Ta Min took his first breath of Kairan air. It was thinner than Earth's atmosphere, with a sweet undertone that reminded him of cinnamon. "Stay close," Commander Jia ordered as they stepped onto the alien soil. "Some predators have moved into the dead zones, desperate for food." Ta Min nodded, clutching his sample kit as he approached the boundary between life and death. The healthy trees were unlike anything on Earth. Their bark spiraled up in geometric patterns, and their leaves were shaped like perfect hexagons, glowing faintly with inner bioluminescence. Just a few feet away, identical trees stood lifeless, their glow extinguished, their perfect patterns interrupted by decay. "This is remarkable," Ta Min muttered, kneeling to examine the soil at the transition point. "The blight spreads through the root systems. See how the soil changes color at exactly the boundary." Hannah knelt beside him, her expression curious. "Can your nectar stop this?" "Not as it exists now," Ta Min admitted, "but I think I understand what modifications are needed." He began taking samples, carefully storing soil, root fragments, and leaf material from both healthy and blighted trees. A low rumbling sound made him pause. What was that? Commander Jia had drawn her weapon, a sleek device that hummed with energy. "Forest Stalker, we must return to the vessel." The rumbling grew louder. From the dead section of forest, a massive creature emerged. It moved on 6 legs, its body covered in what looked like plates of natural armor. Its head was eyeless, with a wide sensing organ that pulsed with blue light. "Don't move," Hannah whispered, placing herself between Ta Min and the creature. Ta Min froze, heart pounding. The stalker paused, its sensing organ flashing more rapidly as it detected them. Commander Jia raised her weapon, but before she could fire, something unexpected happened. The stalker approached one of the healthy trees and pressed its sensing organ against the trunk. The tree's luminescence seemed to intensify, and the stalker drew back, making a sound like a satisfied purr. "It's not hunting," Ta Min whispered in realization. "It's feeding on the tree's energy, but not harming it. It's a symbiotic relationship." Commander Jia lowered her weapon slightly. "That is not typical stalker behavior. They usually attack and consume." Ta Min watched in fascination as the stalker moved to another healthy tree, repeating the process. The blight isn't just killing the trees. It's disrupting an entire ecological system. These creatures should be living in harmony with the forest, but the dying trees are forcing them to become predators. The understanding hit him with sudden clarity. "I've been approaching this all wrong. I've been trying to make the nectar fight the blight directly. But I need to restore the balance of the entire system." Back in the vessel, flying toward the city, Ta Min's mind raced with new possibilities. He sketched furiously on a datapad Hannah had given him, mapping connections between the trees, the soil, and creatures like the forest stalker. "This will take more time than I thought," he told Commander Jia. "The solution isn't just botanical, it's ecological." Jia studied him with those intense alien eyes. "How much more time?" Ta Min met her gaze steadily. "Years, probably. But I think I can do it." He surprised himself with his own determination. "For the first time," Commander Jia smiled. "Then it seems, Dr. Park, that you are beginning to understand your mission here." Ta Min nodded slowly. Despite his status as a captive, he had found purpose in this alien world. The challenge before him was worthy of his skills, and the stakes could not be higher. A civilization, an entire world, hung in the balance, and he was the only one who could save it. 3 years had passed since Ta Min's arrival on Kayara. The morning sun cast strange triple shadows through his window as he finished dressing in the Kayan garments he now wore daily. The light fabric, designed to regulate body temperature in the alien climate, had become more comfortable to him than his old Earth clothes, which sat folded in a drawer, largely forgotten. A soft chime announced Hannah's arrival. The doors slid open, revealing his once guard, now friend, carrying a tray of local fruits. "The council meeting begins in 1 hour," she reminded him. "Elder Sue specifically requested your presence." Tan-Min nodded, taking a piece of starfruit from the tray. The sweet tart flavor had become one of his favorites. "Is it about the Western Forest results?" "Yes, the Nectar treatment is showing promising signs." Hannah sat across from him, her tall frame making the human-sized chair look small. "Many believe your approach would fail." The Western Forest had been their first large-scale test site. For months, Tan-Min had worked to perfect his modified Nectar formula, creating a compound that didn't just fight the blight, but restored the entire ecological balance of the Kayan forests. After breakfast, they walked together through the city center. Tan-Min no longer drew the curious stares he once did. The Kaya had grown accustomed to the human in their midst, especially as his work began showing results. They passed the training grounds where young Kaya warriors practiced with their energy staffs. One of them, a junior warrior named Jin, waved at Tan-Min. "Your combat lessons continue tomorrow?" Hannah asked with a slight smile. Tan-Min rubbed his shoulder, remembering his last bruising session. "Jin doesn't believe in taking it easy on me just because I'm smaller and from another planet. The Kaya respect strength," Hannah replied. "By accepting training, you earn their respect, even when you lose." The council chamber was a circular room with 7 tall chairs arranged in a semicircle. Elder Sue, the eldest and wisest of the Kaya leaders, sat in the center. Her silver hair was braided with crystals that caught the light as she moved. "Dr. Park," she greeted him as he entered. "We have reviewed the data from the Western Forest sector." Tan-Min bowed slightly, a Kayan gesture of respect he had adopted. "And your findings, Elder?" Elder Sue activated a holographic display in the center of the room. It showed a 3-dimensional map of the forest, with color coding indicating health levels. Large sections that had once been red now glowed green. "Your approach shows unexpected wisdom," she admitted. "The forest recovery rate exceeds our projections by 40%. Tan-Min felt a surge of pride. "Different perspectives often yield better solutions," he replied, using a Kayan proverb he had learned. Elder Sue's expression softened slightly at his use of their language. "Indeed, the council has voted to expand the treatment to the northern territories." This was a significant victory. The northern forests were among the most severely affected by the blight. "I will need additional resources," Tan-Min said, "and access to the sacred groves. I believe the ancient trees there hold genetic keys that could further improve the formula." A murmur ran through the council. The sacred groves had never been open to an outsider before. "You ask much, Earthman," one of the other elders said sharply. "I ask what is necessary to save your world," Tan-Min replied, meeting the elder's gaze without flinching. After a moment of tense silence, Elder Sue nodded. "Access will be granted, under supervision. The survival of our people outweighs tradition." Later that day, Tan-Min stood at the edge of a cliff overlooking the western forest. From this vantage point, he could see the clear boundary between the treated and untreated areas. Life versus death, in stark visual contrast. Hannah joined him, carrying 2 cups of the warm beverage the Kaya called sunroot tea. "You've earned a rare honor today," she said, handing him a cup. "No outsider has ever entered the sacred groves." Tan-Min sipped the tea, feeling its warmth spread through his body. "I'm not sure I'm still an outsider, not entirely." It was true. Over 3 years, he had learned their language, adopted their customs, even participated in their harvest festivals. He was still human, still different, but no longer the complete stranger he had been. "Will you attend the lunar alignment celebration tonight?" Hannah asked. The lunar alignment, when Kiara's twin moons appeared perfectly stacked in the sky, was the most important cultural event in the Kayan calendar. I wouldn't miss it, Ta-Min replied. Jin has been teaching me the dance of gratitude. Hana looked surprised, then pleased. That is significant. The dance is usually reserved for those born of Kaya. That evening, the central plaza filled with Kaya of all ages. Lanterns floated in the air, suspended by some technology Ta-Min still didn't fully understand. Music played from instruments unlike any on Earth, creating complex harmonies that seemed to vibrate in his bones. When the moons aligned, casting a single bright spotlight on the plaza, the dancing began. Ta-Min joined a circle of warriors, including Jin and Hana. The movements were precise and powerful, telling the story of Kiara's creation through body language alone. To his surprise, Ta-Min found he remembered all the steps Jin had taught him. His smaller stature made some movements difficult, but he compensated with extra effort, earning approving nods from the Kaya around him. After the dance, Elder Su approached him. You honor our traditions, Dr. Park. Your traditions have wisdom, he replied. On Earth, we've forgotten how connected all living things are. Here, that knowledge is central to your culture. Elder Su studied him for a long moment. When you first came, we saw only your knowledge. Now we see more. As the celebration continued around them, Ta-Min realized how much had changed. He still missed Earth sometimes, still thought of himself as a captive in technical terms. But he had found meaning here, respect, and perhaps even belonging. When the first treated forest section began showing signs of recovery, displaying its natural luminescence once again, Ta-Min felt a sense of accomplishment he hadn't expected. This alien world was becoming something he cared about deeply, and its people were becoming something like family. The first warning came in the form of a shattered window. Ta-Min had been working late in his laboratory, studying samples from the sacred grove, when the sound of breaking glass made him jump. A rock lay on the floor, wrapped in a piece of fabric. On the fabric was a single word in Kayan script, traitor. 7 years had passed since his arrival on Kiara. The Nectar treatment program had expanded to cover nearly half the affected forests. New life was returning to areas once thought lost forever. But not everyone was pleased with this progress. It's the third incident this month, Hana said the next morning, examining the broken window. Commander Minna's faction grows bolder. Ta-Min picked up the rock, turning it over in his hands. I still don't understand. The forests are healing. Isn't that what everyone wants? Hana's expression darkened. Minna believes the Kaya should heal their own world, not rely on outsider science. She sees dependence on your methods as weakness. Commander Minna had once been second to Commander Jia in the Kaya Elite Guard, but as Ta-Min's influence grew, she had broken away, forming a faction that opposed what she called male intervention in Kayan affairs. 2 days later, Ta-Min was presenting his latest findings to the council when an alarm sounded throughout the city. The meeting halted as guards rushed in. What's happening? Elder Su demanded. Commander Minna has seized the Western Distribution Center, a guard reported. Her forces are destroying the Nectar supplies. The room erupted in chaos. The Western Center contained enough nectar to treat thousands of acres of forest. Without it, months of work would be lost. We cannot allow this, Elder Su declared. Commander Jia, assemble your forces. Ta-Min stepped forward. Let me speak with her. Maybe I can convince her. This is beyond words now, Dr. Park. Commander Jia interrupted. Minna has chosen the path of violence. Events moved quickly after that. Commander Jia led a force to retake the distribution center, while Ta-Min was placed under guard at the laboratory. Hours passed with no news. When Hana finally returned, her armor was scorched and a cut ran across her cheek. The center is secure, but the Nectar supplies were destroyed, she reported grimly. And Commander Minna escaped with many followers. How many were hurt? Ta-Min asked, concerned. 6 warriors injured on each side. No deaths, thankfully. Hannah sat heavily in a chair. But this is only the beginning. Minna spoke to her followers before escaping. She has declared that all of your research must be destroyed. We cannot build our future on the knowledge of an outsider, Minna had announced to her followers. The Kaya have always found their own way. We will heal our world ourselves or die with dignity. In the days that followed, security around the laboratory complex tightened. Tai Min found himself constantly surrounded by guards. His movements within the city were restricted. The open trust he had earned over years seemed suddenly fragile. "This isn't just about me, is it?" he asked Hannah one evening as they reviewed security measures. "There's something deeper here." Hannah hesitated before answering. "The Kaya have never faced a crisis we couldn't solve ourselves. Pride is deeply woven into our culture. Mina speaks to an ancient fear that accepting outside help means acknowledging our own failure." A week later, the crisis escalated dramatically. In the middle of the night, Tanmin was awakened by Hannah shaking his shoulder. "Wake up. We must go. Now." Half asleep, he grabbed the emergency pack he had been instructed to keep ready. "What's happening?" "Minna's forces have infiltrated the city. They're moving toward the laboratory." Hannah handed him a protective vest. "Commander Jia is engaging them, but we need to secure you and your research." They moved through dark corridors, joined by 2 other loyal guards. The sounds of energy weapons discharging echoed in the distance. "The south exit," Hannah directed. "We have a transport waiting." They had almost reached the exit when 5 figures in dark armor blocked their path. At their center stood Commander Mina, her tall frame imposing in battle gear. "The Earthman stays," she stated coldly. "His interference in our world ends tonight." Hannah and the other guards formed a protective circle around Tamin. "Stand down, Mina. The Council has spoken. His work continues." "The Council is blinded by desperation," Mina replied. She raised her energy staff. "I will not ask again." What followed was a blur of movement and light as the Kaya warriors engaged in combat. Despite their size and strength, Kaya moved with incredible speed and precision. Energy bolts flew across the corridor, leaving scorch marks on the walls. Hannah fought brilliantly, her years of training evident in every movement, but they were outnumbered. One by one, the other guards fell to stun blasts. "The storage room," Hannah shouted to Tamin, pointing to a small door. "Go." Tamin sprinted for the door as Hannah held off 2 attackers. Inside, he found what he needed, a small data crystal containing all his research. He quickly downloaded the latest Nectar formulas and forest treatment protocols. When he emerged, Hannah was the only one still standing, her energy staff locked against Mina's. With a sudden move, Hannah broke away, grabbed Tamin's arm, and pulled him down a side corridor. "This way." They ran through the complex, taking hidden passages Tamin had never seen before. Behind them, alarms blared as Mina's forces searched. Finally, they reached a small hangar where a single transport vessel waited. "Get in," Hannah ordered, sealing the door behind them. "We head for the outer territories." As the vessel lifted off, Tai Min caught a glimpse of the city below. Sections of it darkened by power outages, other areas lit by the energy signatures of battle. "What now?" he asked as they flew toward the horizon. "Now we hide. Continue your work in secret," Hannah replied. She activated a communication device, "and we wait for help." On the small screen, a message appeared, a transmission intercepted from deep space. "Earth coordinates." His heart jumped when he recognized them. They were searching for him. After 7 years, Earth had found him. Ta Min stared out at the alien landscape rushing below them. The choice before him was suddenly clear. Return to Earth and leave this world to its fate, or stay and finish what he had started. The great synthesis succeeded in the 9th year of Tai Min's time on Kayara. After nearly 2 years of working in hiding, moving from one remote outpost to another, he had finally perfected the formula that would save the dying world. Ta Min stood on a ridge overlooking the central valley, once brown and lifeless, now showing the first hints of green. Beside him, Hannah adjusted the targeting system for the atmospheric dispersal units that would release the final version of the Nectar compound into the air currents. "It's ready," she said, looking up from the control panel. One command and the distribution begins. Tai Min took a deep breath. This moment represented nearly a decade of work, struggle, and sacrifice. "Start the sequence." Hannah pressed her palm against the scanner. With a low hum, the dispersal units activated. High above them, invisible to the eye, millions of microscopic nectar particles began spreading through Kiara's atmosphere. "How long until we see results?" asked Jin, who had joined their resistance shortly after Mina's rebellion began. "The initial effects should be visible within days," Tai Min explained. "Complete forest restoration will take months, but the process is self-sustaining now." The atmospheric distribution had been his breakthrough. Instead of treating individual forest sections, the new formula would spread naturally, carried by wind and rain to every corner of the planet. More importantly, it was designed to replicate itself within healthy plants, creating a permanent solution. 3 days later, the first reports came in from observers across the planet. New growth appeared in dead zones. Bioluminescence returned to darkened trees. Even the forest stalkers were returning to their natural behavior patterns, no longer desperate predators. Word spread quickly. Kaya from all regions witnessed the miracle of their dying world coming back to life. Support for Mina's rebellion crumbled as the results became undeniable. "Elder Su requests your presence in the capital," Hannah informed Ta Min one morning. "Mina's forces have surrendered. It's safe to return." The city looked different after 2 years away. New buildings had risen where battles had damaged the old structures. As their transport vessel landed in the central plaza, Ta Min saw a crowd gathered, not in protest, but in welcome. Elder Su greeted them personally, her aged face showing more lines than Ta Min remembered. "The council is gathered. Your presence is required for an important decision." In the council chamber, Commander Jia stood at attention, her armor polished but bearing the marks of many battles. Surprisingly, Commander Mina was also present, though under guard. "The revival of our forests has begun," Elder Su announced formally. "Thanks to Dr. Park's great synthesis, Kiara will live again." She turned to Ta Min. "You have fulfilled your purpose. You may return to your world." Ta Min blinked in surprise. After 9 years, freedom was suddenly being offered. He glanced at Hannah, whose expression remained carefully neutral. "Before I decide," he said, "there is something I must address." He turned to face Commander Mina. "Your concerns were not without merit. No world should depend entirely on outside knowledge. That's why the final formula contains elements of traditional Kayan plant medicine, knowledge your ancestors developed centuries ago." Mina's eyes widened slightly. "The great synthesis is not my creation alone," Ta Min continued. "It combines earth science with Kayan wisdom. Neither would have succeeded without the other." A murmur ran through the council chamber. Elder Su nodded slowly. "Wisdom indeed. As for returning to Earth," Ta Min said, turning back to the council, "I propose something different. I've intercepted transmissions. Earth has discovered Kiara's location. Contact is inevitable. I offer to remain not as a captive, but as an ambassador." Commander Jia stepped forward. "What are you suggesting?" "A formal relationship between our worlds," Ta Min explained, "beginning with a botanical exchange program. Earth has much to learn from Kayan ecological knowledge, and Kiara could benefit from Earth's agricultural techniques." Elder Su considered this. "You would negotiate terms on our behalf." "I understand both worlds now," Ta Min replied. "I can help build a bridge between them." After hours of discussion, the council agreed. Ta Min would return to Earth not as an escaped prisoner, but as Kiara's first ambassador, with Hannah and a small delegation accompanying him. On his last night on Kiara, Ta Min visited the observatory deck, where he had spent many evenings during his first years of captivity. The stars looked different now, no longer alien and frightening. but familiar friends. Hana joined him, standing quietly at his side. 10 years ago I was your prisoner, he said quietly. And now? She asked. Tai Min smiled. Now I understand that sometimes captivity leads to unexpected freedom. He thought about the man he had been when he arrived, focused only on his research, isolated in his laboratory on Earth. Here, forced to connect his work to an entire ecosystem, to understand the complex web of life that sustained a planet, he had grown in ways he never expected. Will you miss Kiara? Hana asked. I'll be back, he promised. This isn't an ending, it's a beginning. 3 months later, Dr. Tai Min Park returned to Earth. The landing site was remote, chosen carefully for this historic first contact. Government officials waited nervously as the Kayan vessel descended from the clouds, its design unlike any human craft. When the door opened, Tai Min stepped out first, breathing Earth's air for the first time in a decade. It felt strange, heavier, richer in oxygen than he was now accustomed to. Behind him came Hana and the Kayan delegation, their tall frames and golden skin drawing gasps from the human officials. Dr. Park, a government representative, stepped forward. We've been searching for you for years. We feared you were dead. Not dead, Tai Min replied with a smile. Just finding a new purpose. He gestured to his companions. May I introduce Ambassador Hana of Kiara. She represents a civilization that wishes to establish peaceful relations with Earth. As reporters recorded the historic moment and officials scrambled to adjust to this new reality, Tai Min felt a deep sense of satisfaction. His captivity had transformed into a mission, and that mission had now evolved into something greater, a bridge between worlds. Later, walking through a forest on Earth, Tai Min explained to Hana the differences between Earth trees and their Kayan counterparts. She listened attentively, her eyes wide with the same wonder he had felt upon first seeing Kiara. Your world is beautiful, she said. Different, but beautiful. Both worlds are now our responsibility, Tai Min replied. The botanical exchange program is just the beginning. As they continued their walk, Tai Min thought about the strange journey that had brought him here, from abducted scientist to planetary savior to interstellar ambassador. 10 years of captivity had given him the greatest freedom of all, the freedom to make a difference on a scale he had never imagined possible.